If you grew up with the Nintendo 64 in the late 90s, you probably remember Automobili Lamborghini. It was that racing game with real car brands, decent graphics for the time, and let's be real, the Titus logo that almost felt like a red flag. But here's something you might not know. In Japan, that same game turned into something else entirely. They called it Super Speed Race 64. At first glance, it seems like just another region swap, but then Taito, the legends behind some of the biggest arcade hits, stepped in. They didn't just stick their famous franchise name on the cover, they actually messed around under the hood and made changes to the game engine. So today, we're digging into why this Japanese version is way more than a simple rebrand, and how it carved out its own weird little spot in N64 history. Let's talk about Super Speed Race 64. Alright, let's talk about legacy for a second. In the West, everyone called this one the Lamborghini game. Nothing fancy. But over in Japan, Taito spotted a chance to do something different. They already had this legendary series called Speed Race, which kicked off way back in 1974. Think of it as the ancestor of every scrolling racing game you've ever played. So, when Taito got their hands on Titus's Racer in 1998, they slapped a new name on it, Super Speed Race 64. It's like if someone took a gritty modern shooter and suddenly called it Duck Hunt 2026, just to get people's attention. It's a smart marketing move honestly, but it kind of scrambles the game's identity. You've got these super sleek Lamborghinis from the 90s tearing through tracks that are supposed to feel like old school arcade throwbacks. It really shouldn't work, but somehow it does. We've definitely ranted about Titus before, especially when Superman 64 comes up. But this time, they actually pulled off a decent racing game. Super Speed Race 64 nails the lightning. The lens flares look great, cars have real reflections, and for once, the speed feels legit. Now, for the Japanese release, Taito stepped in and made some tweaks. The cars don't bounce around as much after collisions, and the AI steps up its game. It's kind of like a director's cut for a game most people just thought was okay to begin with. There are 6 tracks, a solid career mode, and a weather system. Sure, it's not as fancy as what you get in Roadsters, but it actually mixes things up and keeps the races interesting. Looking back from 2026, it's kind of crazy how this game still nails that instant arcade racing vibe. These days, every racing game wants you to sink 100 hours into some sprawling live service world. But this one, it just hands you a Countach and says, go ahead, tear through the mountains at 200 miles an hour, no strings attached. And honestly, the licensing side of things back then was completely wild. Now, trying to get Lamborghini's name on a small Japan-only release would send lawyers into a meltdown. But in 1998, Taito just shrugged and said, yeah, slap the bull on the box. People love bulls. Plus, it does 4-player split screen, and let's be real, that's what made the N64 so much fun. Sure, it isn't Mario Kart, but once you've burned through those tracks, this game is a solid pick for game night. So is Super Speed Race 64 actually worth hunting down? If you collect games, then yeah, definitely. This is one of the more unique, enhanced versions out there, especially for this system. But if you're just after a fun racing game, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's quick, looks impressive for 64-bit hardware, and it's got that classic franchise vibe. Honestly, it's proof that even Titus could pull off something decent, especially with a legend like Taito involved. What about you? Have you ever imported this one, or did you just stick with the Western Automobili version? And seriously, does anyone out there remember the original 1974 Speed Race? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we really do love reading them. If you enjoyed the video, a like goes a long way. And hey, subscribe if you want more, we've got new videos coming out every day. Thanks for watching.